So any questions? We've got the budget season about to go underway. All sorts of things we can talk about.
So in Charlotte City Council, the council's Immigration Task Force recently presented 4 recommendations that they're lobbying the City Council to pass, which included giving municipal IDs to everyone living in Charlotte, regardless of immigration status, using Charlotte lobbyists to lobby state government to give driver's license to illegal immigrants. And most concerning to me, in telling CMPD to no longer work with the county sheriffs on the 287G program, which checks immigration status of prison inmates. And I think since 2006, since that's passed, it's been the cause of 14,000 deportations. Have you spoken to any to anyone in the Sheriff's Department? Do they have any concerns about these recommendations that are going to City Council?
I'll go first on that one. I have not spoken with the new sheriff on this issue in particular yet.
Because I have spoken.
Have you spoken?
I mean, the 287G is something that Erwin Carmichael supports, the federal thing, they've been able, a lot of people talk about it being for people from South America and Mexico, but he said that the bigger thing is trying to find people like from the Russian mob, and he said that's really where they're focused more than, Jose over here that has a broken light on his car. They're more focused on the other. So he's very strong on 287G. I know that a lot of the Hispanics, are not. I guess I would like that that there be some kind of a, case by case if there's some unusual circumstance. I struggle when they take away, American children, who were born here and you send them to Honduras. But those are not really our issues since we're not on the City Council. But I guess I would like some common sense approach for unusual circumstances where they could look at it differently. And as for the identification, I think that most of them support the identification, especially the driver's license, because when we're driving, I want to make sure the guy in the car next to me has a North Carolina license, because I don't want him to hit me or not know the rules. So I think that most of them do support that, just for safety for the rest of us, and so that they're obeying the laws. And I think it's the same way with the identification, just so that it's easier for them if they do get stopped, if they have something. But I don't think there should be an expense to the city for doing that. But again, those aren't our issues, so I can't say that I know a lot about it. That's all I know from talking to the city people and the sheriff and the Chief Monroe.
I spoke with somebody from the Latin American Coalition. We got a cup of coffee a couple months ago about this, and she expressed to me why they think it's a good idea. And I mean, there are some benefits to having everyone have some sort of ID. There's certainly some benefit to that. There's also a large cost involved with that. And you also have to look at things, and you guys probably heard me say this many times, is it's always the unintended consequences. What are we not seeing by implementing something like this, or the city not seeing by implementing something like this, that might cause other problems down the road? And ultimately, I told her, I said, what I really struggle with is, sure, I think most of us would agree that immigration reform is needed, that something is not quite right with how we do it in the U.S. And it is unfortunate when parents have to get deported, and you've got the kids involved. I mean, everyone knows that's sad. But at the same time, we are a nation of laws, and there is a rule of law that should be enforced as well. And if you're going to break the law, then you have to pay the consequence. And if you didn't break the law in the first place, then you wouldn't be in a position where you've got to pay the consequence. So, that's a real struggle. The easy answer for me would be like, well, it's not my issue, I'm out of here. But just to be honest with you, that's what I struggle with is what we do here locally. We do have 287G programs, like Pat said, the current sheriff, I know Sheriff Carmichael supported it, but I know that former Chief Pendergraft did. And I've heard from a lot of folks that they do support that program. It has been effective in the past. I guess that's where I am with that.
And I think the problem is that Washington hasn't done their job. So that leaves
Right.
And that's the main problem. But until we can't make them do it. But
Yeah.
if all they're doing is fighting with each other. They're not doing what we're doing and talking to each other.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
they do is throw rocks at each other. So,
sorry, I didn't walk in
Yeah.
your traffic there.
And the fourth recommendation that slipped my mind was giving in-state tuition to illegal immigrants. Did you have any comment on that?
I have no comments on the issue.
you know, I think that, I mean, right now that they can't even get financial aid, and I mean, a lot of these kids have gone through, 12 years of CMS, and again, this is a mess that, we inherited. I thought it was really amazing that some of the colleges, like Davidson College last year, because I went to 15 graduations of CMS, and Davidson College gave a full ride to a girl who was undocumented and was like #1 in her class, and and I thought that was so good, and that they did that because that girl couldn't have gone to any college, and I mean these kids are going to stay here. I mean a lot of them are smart, and do we want them to? If they don't have jobs and they can't get educated, that could cause a drain on us financially down the road. I mean, I think if we could do something at the community college, I mean, I think there's something we could think of to help them so that they can become productive citizens. Because I don't think we want all these kids with no job. And again, a lot of them were born here, they were brought here when they were 2 years old. So, I mean, this is a mess we inherited. So, it's complicated. I don't think we have the answers for it, but I think as a community we could do something. I think education is always powerful. So I think we could, and especially with the community colleges. I mean, why can't we, use that? That could help them. And there's so many jobs they could get from the community college. So we're blessed with that. So
it's not an issue that I've studied in any real depth, so I don't have a great answer for you. But I would say my initial reaction to that, and I know it was in papers months ago, sometime last year, I think when they first started talking, or we really got some momentum behind the idea. Getting in-state tuition is a great benefit to whoever lives there and is obeyed the law and has paid taxes and so forth. So it's a real advantage. And parents do move to get into different school systems. They do move somewhere to get that in-state tuition. I mean, I've known people who wanted to go to college in a certain state, so they moved a year before they wanted to go so that they could get in-state tuition because they couldn't afford it otherwise. It's a benefit to people who are there. And I think that I don't know that benefit should be extended if you shouldn't have been in the first place. Because that salary, that tuition rather, is being subsidized by those who have been here and have been paying and have been obeying the law. And it provides them an advantage that others wouldn't get. If I've got somebody who, my brother and sister-in-law that live in Fort Mill, if they wanted to, if their daughter in 15, 16, 17 years from now wants to go to school in North Carolina, well, she's not going to get in-state tuition, but they've not done nothing wrong. She won't get in-state tuition, they'll have to move. So I think there are consequences to decisions that you make in life, and you have to kind of live with them and work through them as best you can.
Well, another consequence of giving in-state tuition to undocumented, divert resources away from some of the poor people we have in our community, or our American citizens, like the minority community, places like that. They lose out.
Yeah.
So,
And like Pat said, honestly, there's all these issues that we face here at the state level, not all issues, but especially in this room regarding immigration. This is stuff that we deal with at the state level, we deal with it at the local level, and it really, I think, is as you mentioned, it really is because of what's going on in D.C.
Right.
and the lack of fixing this over the last, decades, really.
Decades,
and
yeah.
getting us in a position where at the local level we're struggling with, well, how do we manage this now, rather than how do we, instead of stopping the bleeding, how do we heal the patient?
Mm-hmm.